Good day and welcome to another fantastic moment on 360 Sport. As usual, today will be an interesting moment on the show where you get to know what's trending in the world of sport. I'm Muda Shishitu. I'll be your anchor in the next few minutes as we dissect an interesting topic. But I'll be doing this alone. I have an sport journalist, he's a sport writer, a media officer, someone that has done so well for himself when it comes to sport reportage in Nigeria, and even beyond Nigeria. He has been to several international tournaments and he writes for Premium Times. No other one can do that in that magnitude than Tunde Eludini. It's good to have you on the show, Tunde. It's been a long time we have you together on our show, and we hope that everything is keeping fit as usual.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much.
So let's go straight to the point. Over the weekend, surprisingly, a lot of Nigerians didn't see that coming, but some suspected the fact that for a very long time, a private club in Nigeria will be winning the Nigerian Professional Football League. Remo did an interesting one over Niger Tornadoes, who were struggling for relegation, but the success came as a result of the match Rivers United was having, and now we see Remo Stars being the first in a long time, a club from the southwest Nigeria, sunset after Julius Berger did in 1991. We are seeing Remo Stars. What does it mean to see a private club owned by an individual win the Nigerian Professional Football League?
First, I would say congratulations to Remo Stars again, and this is a testament to the fact that everything is possible if you put your mind to it. This is a trophy, like I can say, maybe 20 years in the making. It shows great tenacity. If you look at Nigeria, the way Nigeria is structured, private clubs do not look like things that can survive. And when they even survive, you don't expect them to challenge for titles. But Remo Stars have broken all those stereotypes. They didn't just bid for the title. They've won it with 3 games to spare, and that shows a lot of class. So I think Kunle Shoname has to be studied. Everything he has put in place to see that this team gets to where they are has to be studied, and I think that should form a model for others to follow in the years to come.
The reasons why we've not always have private club win the NPFL, though in a long while we've not seen so much. I think MFM tried it one time, but they were not always getting it. And there was a time it called United also. But tell us, is it because there's not a lot of NPFL private club teams in the NPFL, or why is it difficult for NPFL for private clubs to win the NPFL title?
So for me, football is football at that level, at the elite level, is quite expensive. You need a war chest that can be able to get the best players, travel. You know, this when you have 19 teams. It's a 20-team league. You have to travel to face 19 teams. You travel as far as Maiduguri, to Imo and the likes. That in itself is capital intensive. And so you don't really have individuals that can just keep spending that money. And if you look at the NPFL, it has not been made so lucrative that when you spend all this money, that you are sure of getting a return, a quick return on your investment. So that, for me, has been one of the drawbacks for the league. The money that is available to be won is not so lucrative that we can even make someone to say, okay, let me even go for a bank loan and run this thing for 2-3 years. But beyond that, of course, the bragging rights for you to be the champion of the league of the most populous country, I think is big in itself. And you now have the chance to prove yourself in the Champions League. I think those are the hard-ons that will still keep investors going on. So why it has been so difficult for private teams, for me, is more funding. But luckily for Remo Stars, they have a billionaire businessman in Kunle Shoname that has done well for himself in other spheres. So he can afford to pump the money he's making from other part of his business into football. And gradually, I think the return on investment should start coming in as fast as possible.
Well, sir, but beyond the finance, beyond the fact that there's someone behind them, Remo stars that I love football. But let's look at the table where we have a 10-point gap between the winners, Remo Stars and Rivers United. Does it show that it goes beyond just having the money? Well, you have to have the machineries, the players, the coach, Daniel Gundedede, who is doing so well now. Because 10-point gap tells more than you just having the finance to enable your players play well.
Yes, I agree totally with you. There are clubs, there are people that have money, and it's not just about having money, it's about spending it the right way. And that is what Remo Stars have done. And one thing again that I give to the owners of the club is continuity. The Ogumodede that you mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, he has spent a couple of years with the team already. From an assistant coach, he has come through the ranks, he has gone to Portugal, he has gone. So this is, the team is built on a solid foundation. And when you look at the model also, the Beyond Limits, which is the academy part of Remo Stars, you can see that they are able to bring out youngsters from across the country and beyond. Of course, they have a couple of foreigners, like the keeper, for example, is from Benin Republic. So yes, the money is important, but the recruitment has to be gotten right also. And so when you have a coach that has learned the ropes right from the NLL up there before going to Portugal and coming back. So yes, the money is important, but yes, they also got their recruitment right, and the owner is not somebody that is impatient. And that's another thing, that's another lesson. He's not an impatient owner that builds and just crash. For 2 seasons, Remo Stars, they get promotion, they get relegated back. But that doesn't mean that the owner should just disband the team and all that. And so I think that patience also worked for him. He built right from the scratch and to where we are today.
Okay, now let's not go into the model, a model of what a private club in Nigeria looks like or should be. In the past, we have Ifeanyi Uba, owned by the late Ifeanyi Uba. We have Ikorodu United, also owned by a private businessman. We have in the past, I don't think COD has been in the NPFL before playing, but we've got several clubs in the past, and we have Remo Stars also. So look at all these private clubs that have one way or the other in the past 1 decade or more that have participated in the NPFL. Which of them comes to you as a model club that every other club should follow? Let's also remind our viewers, that those listening to us, that Ifeanyi Uba actually have the muscle power, and they did so well. I think, if I'm not mistaken, MFM also, the church owned by the Mountain of Fire Miracle Ministry, a church, a big church in the continent. So all these have been models. But what do you think? Would you advise, or what will you advise viewers, or which of these clubs I mentioned, if even I've forgotten any of them, is a model private club that every other investors should follow suit?
I think for me, no one fits it all. You pick the good sides, you pick around, and you now have a perfect model. If you look at Ifeanyi Uba, for example, yes, the money was there, but for me, I might not be too comfortable with the recruitment. Going to Brazil, yes, it was flamboyant, but it doesn't guarantee results. Brazilians that are not used to what our league is, there's very little that they can do in terms of impact, instant impact at that. Yeah, but for marketing and for optics, yes, that might be. So I think each of these clubs that we have mentioned, they have, for MFM, for example, I remember one of the drawbacks for MFM then was that they had a salary cap that would not attract big players. So the club already says the highest we can pay any player, whoever you are, even if you are Ronaldo or Messi, is XYZ amount. And so because of that policy that they had, they could not command the best of players to come and join them. So, like I said, each of these teams have 1 or 2 things that you can learn from. If you look at Sporting Lagos, for example, yes, they've not one of the things I like about the team is how they've been able to build a brand for supportership. They've made coming to Mad Venice exciting. And so those are the things we want to see in the league, that families can come to the stadium to watch matches in that. Yeah, so you are making the league more glamorous. Yes, that's the word. So by and large, I don't think any club has a perfect model that cannot be faulted. But each of them has one or two things that can be. Ikorodu United that you mentioned, for example, I'm sure one of their bane was funding. They had just grassroots. They were not able to attract big names, and it was a matter of time before they fizzled out. So all of these teams have their pros and their cons. So it is for investors to look at what worked in areas that their approach worked. You pick from here, from there, then you match it together, and you have a fantastic team.
Interesting. Well, sir, before we go for Q&A, let me ask, is it high time for us to tell the private investors, the businessmen, women, that this is the right time for them to invest, have a club in the NPFL, looking at the success of teams like MFM, teams like Remo Stars that just won league? Do you think it's high time that the NPFL is ripe enough for an investor to come in?
Yes, I think that's the direction we should be looking at, private ownership of clubs. It has been said over the years that government ownership of clubs is not doing is a great disservice to the league. And so until we have, and of course we have worthy individuals that one would expect that they should be having clubs by now, the likes of Dangote, Tedola, Tony Elumelu, and the likes of them, Adenuga. These are individuals that command a large chunk of wealth that if they pump into this league, then it's going to be the dream league that we have been hoping for. I think the earlier we are able to shift away from government-owned clubs to privately owned clubs, like Remo Stars have shown to us, I think the better for us. And I think this will be a kind of morale booster for others that have been standing on the fringes, considering that should I come in or I should not come in. I think they've seen what Remo Stars have done, and they know it's possible that a privately owned club can indeed rule the Nigerian Premier League. And so this is the right time for them to come in. And I hope that by the time we are going into the next season and a few years' time, we would have more. When a club is privately owned, there's always a difference because accountability comes to the play. This is not free money. For all you care, some of these monies can even be loans. So nobody will put so much money in a club and just fold their hands and wait that whatever happens. No. So by the time we have privately owned clubs that people that is run like businesses that they should be, I can't imagine a Tolu Elumelu putting his money into a club and just folds hands. He doesn't care what. These are hard-suit businessmen. He will always run the club like his bank. He wants profits, and so by the time you have people that have this kind of mindset in the league, I think it's going to be better for us all.
Yes, what's today? We'll go on this quick break, and when we come back, we still have you on the show telling us so much about the historical win of Remo Stars. We'll be speaking to Tunde Eludini. We'll go on this quick break. When we come back, we still have Tunde Eludini with us, and we're looking at Remo Stars winning the first ever NPFL title. Don't go away. Welcome back. It's still an interesting moment in the show. If you're joining us on all our social media platforms, the conversation continues. You can join us on all our social media platforms. We'll be speaking with Tunde Eludini on the historical win of the first private club since Julius Berger to win the Nigerian Professional Football League. Tunde, I'm sure it's all celebration for Remo Stars, we know, but let's also look into the future. Do you think there's ever going to be a time that clubs will not be owned by state government in the country, just like we know that Lagos State is the only city in Nigeria that doesn't own a club. We have. So, do you think in the future we'll probably see something coming out that all states will hands off from clubs?
I think the time is even here. There are steps already being taken in this direction, and I'm sure very soon it's going to be made public. Like I said, until we have clubs being run as businesses and not just a political tool or for siphoning funds or things like that, then our league will be crawling. Very soon, I'm sure maybe 2, 3 seasons, these state-owned clubs will be gradually eased out for private individuals to come in and really do that which needs to be done.
Okay, let's also don't forget that there's so much to talk about right now as regards to the NPFL. Now, let's also look at the continent. Most of the times we don't tend to do so well in the continent. Even Remo Stars winning the click for the first time indicated, as shown in the past, that they've been to the continent, that's Intercontinental Championship representing the country. Does our performance in intercontinental matches, the CAF Confederation Cup, the CAF Champions League, does it indicate how not so much of a footballing clubs we have because we don't always do well?
Yes, yes and no. Like, for example, one of the things that has been in Africa, for example, we know where the superpowers are. And for me, right now, is the North African teams. And of course, you can see that South Africa too is also coming up as far as club football is concerned. So one of the biggest bane that has been for most of our teams that go on the continent is the ability to keep their best players. That I don't see Remo Stars having similar problem, though it's not impossible. Of course, if big offers comes from Europe, I'm sure the owner is a businessman and would want to do business. And so, but one of the things that have really not worked against our teams is first the timing of our league. In most cases, these teams are always maybe off season when other clubs are in peak form. Our teams that go on the continent are off season and they struggle for fitness and all of that. Another thing that I see is that in those teams that are the so-called big teams, the Al Ahly, the Moroccan teams, and even the South African teams, one thing that they have going for them is the ability to command players from across the continent. The best players from the continent play for this team. So you can expect that the level of play will be higher. I want to believe that this year there should be some level of improvement. At least we should be able to see after a very long time a Nigerian team making it to the group stage of the CAF Champions League.
Okay, lastly, before I let you go because of our time, let's also look at how can you rate the Nigerian Professional Football League, the Nigerian Football League this season, though there have been incidents of brutality, assault on players and some referees and all that. But can you tell us in your own assessment, how can you rate the 2024-2025 NPFL? Is it yet a professional league or there's still so much work to be done?
Well, I would always say it's work in progress. We can see some level of improvement, but much more can still be achieved. As a country called Nigeria, there are things that you will expect from our league, and I think gradually we are getting there. But sincerely, there's still a lot to be done. You talked about the incidences of violence across the match centers. Yes, there have been violence, but one thing I must give to this board is that they've been able to come out swiftly with fines and penalties. We've had teams that points were deducted from their points. And so I think that's sending a message that violence cannot be condoned in this league. Yes, we are not moving backward. That's what I can say. But there's still much to be done. When you compare us to leagues like Tanzania, for example, Tanzanian league is more lucrative than Nigerian league. You see Nigerian players leaving to Tanzania. You see them going to even Kenya. Kenya is supposed to be an athletics country, but their league commands more money than we do. And so by the time we can package our league properly, thank God for the league now being shown on TV. I think that's an improvement also. More games are being shown on TV. And so I think there's an improvement, but it can be better. That's what there's still more hard work to be done. And until that is done, the NPFL will still be in the back seats on the continent.
Yes, like our report card, you also always read when we're much younger, regardless to your position at the end of the class, whether you're the first in the class, second in the class, there's always a remark. There's still room for more improvement. And I think that's just a summary of your own remarks on the just concluded 2024-25 NPFL season. Tunde Eludeni, thank you for your time.
Yes.
We hope to talk to you soon on everything relating to sport. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
If you're just joining us, we've been talking to Tunde Eludeni and we're about to round up the show for today. So much about the celebration going on. If you get on all the social media platforms, you see players, coach, families of Remo Stars celebrating the win. The first time in a long while that a private club a privately owned club wins the NPFL. The last club that won that, according to reports around us, is the fact that Julius Berger in 1991 was the last private club to win. But before that, there have been several clubs trying to win it, with notably is Ifeanyi Uba. We also not forget MFM and Ikorodu United and many other clubs that were unable to do that. But kudos to Remo Stars for clean sheet days. And that's all on today's program. I still remain yours sincerely, Mudashishitu. Stay tuned next week for much information in the world of sport. Bye for now.